My Gavan and Melanine, and well met indeed. I am Arakir Galadjirthan, the head of Divide and Conquer, but welcome back to Age of Empires 2 HD. Our third little overview and the third game given to us by the Brotherhood of the Swan, the Steam group that I've created to play these games. Age of Empires is getting incredibly popular with the release of those two videos, or certainly in the group rather, sorry. And we've been able to play numerous games each evening, as in there have been 2 games running for the past 2 times we have played. So, I'm going to bring you another one because I thoroughly enjoy it, and it's something different. It's nice to talk about something other than deck, especially after the shambles that was this week's Angmar campaign. Although I'm very looking forward to playing as Byzantium, the Byzantines, the Byzantines, the Eastern Roman Empire, as they were the runaway winner when I was looking yesterday. I assume they probably still are. I've not checked today. But I am very pleased that they are going to win. I've taken on board what you all said, and I'll play in the late game. I'm just going to work out how to change it. I think I need to run the Soul Stainless Steel startup thing again. Right, as you can see, I've got it on ×4. I did learn how to put up the number there. It was F10 or F11. F11, I believe. So, what have I got today? Today we've got a free-for-all on a real-world map. Now, the real-world map is the British Isles, but it includes parts of Scandinavia, which is where I am, and it includes France, Northern France, and I am the Portuguese. And as you can see, I begin up here on what I think is Norway, the southern tip of Norway. I believe so, with the way it's... Obviously, it's not true to life, but I'm pretty sure it's Norway. There are only 5 players, and we will cycle through who we all are. Next up is Big Pollitt. Big Pollitt is playing as the Indians. I believe they were a random selection. And he is based essentially smack bang where London is, to give you some sort of idea of what the map looks like. I'll toggle the forward war off when we're all through. Just speeding us through this Dark Age period. But he is in London, firmly on the island of Great Britain. Next up is Eelan. Now, Eelan is reasonably beginner in his skill level, so do watch out for that. Big Pollitt similarly is reasonably beginner, but he's getting an awful lot better. But Eelan, I have it on good authority from Knight of the North, along with Earfrode, my second in commands in the group. That Eelan is improving and did very, very well in our last game. But Eelan is playing, he's based basically where the Wall of Hadrian was built. He's not in Scotland, he's in the very northern tip of England. This is the Firth of Forth, and so Edinburgh would be on the southern side around here somewhere. Or is it on this side? I can't remember. I think it's on this side. Yeah, it's on this side, isn't it? It's on the northern side, and this river goes up. So that's where he is, on the border of England and Scotland, and he's playing as the Franks, the great knight nation. Next up is Earfrode. Now, Earfrode has the luxury, as you can see, he's discovered a lot of it already, of being entirely alone on northern France. Français du Nord. The north of France. He is playing as ever as the Bretons, hoping to reclaim Britain as he comes from the French side. Earfrode's not amazing, but he's improving phenomenally well, as I've said in the last 2 videos. And finally, the great challenge in this map, the best player I would suggest, is Grumpy Pirate, who's playing as the Japanese, the Japs. And he is based firmly in the middle of England, but as you can see, he's very close to Eelan, practically on top of him. But we're all still in the Dark Age, although Grumpy Pirate is just about to make feudal, so there he goes, first to make feudal. Now, if we turn off the Fog of War, we will see that Ireland is not inhabited. So there's nobody on Ireland. There's nobody in Cornwall. Nor is there anybody in Wales. Which is pretty cheeky. And I have the safety of Norway all to myself. I build what I consider to be a particularly lovely aesthetical base in this map. So do watch out for that in the later stages. Now, as I say, I'm the Portuguese, naval and kind of, I don't know, naval and like late game nation, I would call them, thanks to the Feitoria, the building which gives you resources as long as it's alive. The fact that all of their units cost less gold, which I think is a big bonus toward the end of the game. And their naval, thanks to the Caravel and their unique ability, Karak, I think it's called, Karak, which gives all their ships more armor. So I've got the Northern Sea to myself. Aelfrode has most of the English Channel to himself, as Big Pollet hasn't built a dock. But we will be spending most of our time in this episode following Grumpy Pirate, who is right in the middle of his two enemies, and so is likely to be the aggressor for a large chunk of time. So we're still on Grumpy Pirate, so all of these warning symbols are coming from him. Now we can drop down. That's 23 minutes done in what? 5 minutes. That's phenomenally useful. We'll drop down to Grumpy Pirate. So all of these bells and warnings are his. He's tried to go aggressive, but Big Pollet equally has gone aggressive, but with the minor flaw that he's built his barracks in his own base, whereas Grumpy Pirate was at least trying to extend his out towards his enemy. But Big Pollet's gone quick on the units. I assume he must have built those in the Dark Age, and now he's upgraded them to men-at-arms in this age. But Grumpy Pirate is well aware that he can't take on those men-at-arms one for one with his spearmen, so he's sending them back to his base, and he's using that barracks essentially to tie up Big Pollet. Because what Big Pollet really should be doing, I mean, this army's not going to win, but he could at least be raiding some of these villagers. Those villagers there are prime candidates. If we turn and see what Big Pollet can see, and turn off the fog of war, sorry. He knows that there's a mine, that there is a mining camp there, so he's got a reasonable guess that they're mining there. It's out of the range of the town centre. That would be a better bet than going for the barracks. But then he may be thinking that if he can take out that barracks, then he can't produce any units. But Grumpy Pirate's already retreated to his base. He's building a palisade. He's getting an archery range up. So he's going to have a contingency. Now Ecthelion goes reasonably defensive, but he realises there are enemies. And apparently he's already gone to the castle age. Oh, we are 25 minutes in, aren't we? I keep forgetting that, sorry. So we're at Ecthelion's at the castle age at this point. Now, what Ecthelion doesn't do, which I would argue he probably should have done. Well, number one is he doesn't scout anywhere near enough, and his scout must have died in Grumpy Pirate's base. Yes, it did, because that's as far as it can see. But if he had just scouted north, he would have learnt that he's the only person that has the whole of Scotland to himself. He could have built all of his farms well away up here, out of the way, so that they wouldn't be threatened by land from Grumpy. He could have walled himself in very easily by bridging that gap and bridging that gap, and then he basically could have just moved his base to the other side of the wall. But instead he just builds a few military buildings, puts his economy on the other side of his base, which is at least forward thinking there. But he doesn't claim Scotland. The wealth of resources that Scotland has could have been his, and he doesn't claim them early enough, as we shall see later on. If we swip over to Big Pollet, his little men-at-arms rush has cost him dearly, and he's quite behind economically. Grumpy Pirate has a huge farmstead, 2 stables, an archery range, the blacksmith, a massive number of farms, solid gold numbers, good wood numbers. He's even got ships feeding him supplies from the North Sea, but Big Pollet does not have that kind of strength. I've only just advanced to the castle age, but remember, I am in a position of great strength. And I know this map because I played it a lot when I used to play single player when I was a wee lad. And I was just a wee lad. And I knew that I had no one near me. And also my scouting was remarkably fast. So I knew straight away this island was entirely mine. As you can see, that's what I can currently see. There's my base. But let's swap back to Aelfrode before we come and deal with me. He's also in the castle age. Again, his economy's not brimming over, not bristling. I mean, my economy is nothing to shout at. I don't even have a farm. But then I did have a large number of herdable animals, and I was hunting them down before I started bothering with the farm. But realising that I was behind, I chucked almost everyone on wood to get some farms up. Poor start. Aelfrode starts getting some farms. He's got some men on gold. He's going for stone because he loves his longbows, and he can only get those with a castle. Again, Big Pollet is pretty behind. His man-at-arms rush, he's had to pull them out. I assume because he realises he wasn't going to do anything, or maybe him and Grumpy had a fight, but there aren't any skeletons. But now Grumpy Pirate has gone to the castle age. He's made the next jump, the next leap. It won't be long before he gets his castle up. I can't tell if that is Indian castle age or not. I don't think it is. I think that's feudal. Don't they get the blue roofs in the castle age? Yeah, I think they do. So Ecthelion's still castle, but just sort of sitting and waiting, and a lot of villagers doing nothing, and that sort of thing. Now, again, if we swap to Aelfrode, he is about to discover me. So far, I don't think anybody knows where I am. So at the minute, they could all be thinking I could be on Ireland, I could be in Wales, I could be in Cornwall, Or only Grumpy Pirate at the moment knows that I couldn't be in Cornwall, as he's discovered all the way down there, but I could be in Wales or I could be in Scotland. He's not gone beyond Icthelian's base. And it is only Eofrode who knows where I am, as he has just discovered my island. If we turn off my fog of war, this is what he gets to see. My little base coming along. I've got my second town centre before I've even got farms. That's the problem with safety. It breeds contempt. Not contempt. It breeds a certain sense of security that may not really be there. Complacency! That's what we're after. It breeds complacency. So I'm a little behind, but I do have all of this to myself, and I'm well aware of that. This is where all of my units are going to board ship, which is why I've built that little inlet. All of these, the houses block that beach. There's a tower there, just threw a tower up. Mostly because there was a gap there, and I didn't want to leave a gap. And this side, of course, I've just walled in the dock. And my first castle is going up. I couldn't put it right to the end because there's a stone in the way over there, which is annoying. But I don't come into this too much just yet, so we're not really worrying about me. We are still on Grumpy Pirate and his war with Big Pollet. Of course, seeing Big Pollet has gone men-at-arms, Grumpy has changed his focus. Or rather, he's started his focus, which is knights. Knights are a solid unit to fight against men-at-arms, very solid indeed. Essentially mounted men-at-arms but with more health. And they managed to take out Big Pollet's army in that little skirmish they have there. But lo, on the northern... I've turned biblical. On the northern side of Grumpy Pirate's base, Icthelian dropped his first castle. If we swap and see what Grumpy can see, do we know? Does Grumpy even know it's going on? No, he has no idea. He doesn't even know about Icthelian's base. He's focused so much on defending himself and keeping Pollet at bay that he hasn't scouted north at all, and he has no idea that this is currently threatening his northern border. Big Pollet waiting, Icthelian waiting at least until his castle goes up before he knocks on Grumpy's door. But Grumpy, of course, being right in the middle, but that's the best place for him, I think. Being the best player on this map, having him in the arguably the worst position is very, very useful. If Grumpy had been on Scotland, he would have been unstoppable. Now, again, I will not tell you who wins. Someone did say about doing a YouTube poll, so you could all vote who you thought wins, but I don't know how to do that. And I don't think it would matter. The problem is that some people would start commenting about who won. They'd be like, oh, that was cracking from XYZ. So the poll would just become reasonably useless. So just get a little notepad, and as you're watching, just write to yourself who you think might win. And and then you can see if you're right or not. So Icthelian gets his castle up, but he doesn't begin even attacking that palisade wall. So Grumpy at the moment can see this white base section, so he knows there's a building there if he's on point, if that's really what he can see. But the chances of him looking up there and seeing that and thinking, oh, I'll have a castle, are very slim. So do correct me if I'm wrong, Grumpy, but I don't think you yet know there's a castle there. But Icthelian doesn't seize that chance. He doesn't seize that opportunity. He's still reasonably lapse in his attempts to attack Grumpy, who by now is doing very, very well indeed. Again, blocking off this section with houses, but he's got a second town centre on the way. Big Pollet finally got some good solid numbers in his villagers, but interestingly he sends them north into Norfolk to try and get his units, which is a strange one, because given that he obviously has all of Cornwall and I can't remember what the other one's called. Devon. He has all of Cornwall and Devon and Somerset to himself, so why he doesn't take this southern side, I don't know. He'd be far safer there, and he can just wall off the shallows. Even these trees that are right next to his base, secure. But then there's an argument to suggest you should try and get the most difficult economy first, and then when the poo hits the fan, if you will, then retreat your villagers back to your base to the safety of the economic deposits here, which is possibly what he's doing. But more likely, he thinks this is far enough away, but it might come to bite him. Now, of course, you must remember that I am up here. I have no sight range currently outside of my island at all, but I know the map, so I know there bound to be some on England, there's probably someone on France. So I'm just building a navy, just making sure I'm going to have naval superiority. But at the minute, I don't know anything that is happening outside of my base. And I currently do have the highest score as well, which is useful. But I have got the safety of my island, so you have to always remember that. My second castle is going up on another spur there. And and I'm getting the Caravel out, the Portuguese unique ship. Now, the ship itself isn't actually very good. In a one-on-one fight, a galleon will take it down. Indeed, even if you have two caravels on one galleon, the galleon will really put up a fight and often beat both. I mean, with a bit of micro, they're not amazing, but their bolt goes through numerous ships. They are essentially water versions of the Scorpion, and that's their unique feature. So they're very good in checkpoints, in choke points, and in thin strips of water where their bolt can fire through multiple ships, and in that scenario they excel. But normally if the enemy is just grouped up, then the Caravel does very well. So, but knowing that they're unlikely to have gone naval in this one, given that they were all going to be on top of each other and it's a free-for-all, I felt safe going with my ships. I've spread them all out, split them into 3 different groups, and they're about to go off and discover. And my ships, my fishing ships there, are getting everything they can out of the North Sea. But we turn the fog of war back off. You'll see, again, Eelan has not yet attacked Grumpy. He's still just sat there. He's barely even added a unit to his army since the original. He's definitely going for the defensive. But it's just it's such a game changer. How different might this game have been if Eelan attacked when his castle went up? He would have diverted Big Pollitt's attention at a time when Big Pollitt didn't have this army of knights that he now has. Grumpy Pirate, sorry. I mean, what has he got there? That's, what, 12 knights? Some archers. He's got a solid force there, and he's been able to put up. Now, if we swap to see what he can actually see, he's got good sight range on Big Pollitt. He knows there's no threat. He currently knows nothing more of Eelan. Interesting how he's not managed to... Oh, there'll be a bit in there he can't build. But he might... he's about to discover the enemy's castle, because his village has died. So he's just discovered that Eelan's got a castle. Let's see what he does to react to that, or if he even bothers. I don't think he will, because he's not got anything that can take that castle out at this moment. See my ship slowly gaining more and more sight range of the ocean, pulling out far out of our fishing ships. Our second castle's gone up, supporting that with some watchtowers. Got outposts out on the edge there, so I can see. I've modded the walls so that they're white, which is why they're running around white. Desperate to try and get out that forest and eat me, isn't he? I've got a nice little monastery up there because the Portuguese / Italian aesthetic I think is really cool, one of the nicer ones. Grumpy is devoting all of his attention south. He's ignoring Eelan. He's going a university up and a siege workshop. It's interesting that he's putting his university on the edge. I would have thought he'd put his university back in the middle. But what's Big Pollitt been doing with his time? He's been walling himself in and praying that Grumpy doesn't attack because he's got nothing. 3 men-at-arms, 5 pikemen, and his scout are all that he's got. But we haven't checked in on Aerofrode for a while, so we can go and look at him. He's got quite the little village coming along. 2 town centres, interesting placement, but 2 town centres. I thought you might want to put one at least a little bit further away, take use of more resources. He's got a solid amount of farms. He's really getting that wood chopped in, and his gold. He's got a good number on gold, but it's still only the 4 that he had on stone originally. He's got his castle up, but he's not put it near the water, probably to try and protect it from cannon galleons. But he's not yet ventured into western France, or at least northwestern France. But then the ratios are really off. I mean, this is the Isle of Wight, and the Isle of Wight in actuality is minuscule. It's one of... When I think it's got a fun fact that when it's high tide, the Isle of Wight is the smallest county in England, and when there's low tide, then County Durham, I think, is smaller. But equally, this is an island just off the northern coast of Wales. I can't remember what it's called. It begins with an A. I've been there, but I can't remember its name. Anyway, there's an island just off the coast of Wales there, but it's actually tiny. But in this game, they display it as being almost as big as half of Wales, or at least a quarter, whereas in reality, it's tiny. And of course, Ireland is far greater than this. I think Ireland even matches Great Britain in its size. Now, a fun little fact that many of you may not know, and is only relevant because we're playing as Britain. Great Britain and Britain are not interchangeable words. Some people think that they are. Great Britain refers to the island itself. This includes Scotland, Wales and England, and what makes them up. That is the island of Great Britain. Britain refers to England and Wales only. I know it's so confusing and it's not worth learning, but I'll tell you anyway. Britain refers to England and Wales only, but not Scotland. And finally, of course, the United Kingdom, whose full title gives you more of a clue, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, includes our holdings of Northern Ireland. which many people do forget that the northern section of Ireland, not even the whole northern section, it's only like it comes down about halfway through and then cuts off across there. But that small section of Ireland is part of the United Kingdom and not the Republic of Ireland. So there's a little interesting tip for you. So if you're saying Great Britain, it refers to Scotland, England and Wales only. However, we use Team GB for the Olympics, which cuts out Northern Ireland altogether. So maybe we don't have any Northern Irish contestants. I don't know. But there you are, there's a little bit of information about England for you. So when you say the UK, it's our whole country. When you call us England, it's just England. Wales is just Wales. Scotland is just Scotland. Northern Ireland, Ireland. But Great Britain is the whole thing except Northern Ireland. And Britain is normally just England and Wales. And is kind of interchangeable with just England. So a little bit of info for you there. My base is now looking very nice indeed. I've got these two equidistant from the dock. Nice little bit of symmetry there. I don't have houses on that side though. I've got hardly any military buildings because of course I'm going to need to sail anywhere I go, so it's not going to be worth putting military on my own mains. AF Road has just noticed I've got troops just off the shore because I attacked him with them. Oh no, I didn't. He's literally just building that castle without knowledge that I am just out of his sight range. Big Pollet still defending, but Grumpy Pirate is now coming to examine what Big Pollet has got. Big Pollet has really walled himself into a trap. He's just not got enough to survive this. I can't remember how long Big Pollet went for, but I mean anyone looking at this, from a beginner to even the highest ranking player, will immediately look at these two bases and realise that Big Pollet has lost. He's also got the lowest score of anybody, and it's interesting because, as I have said, he's got this whole southern section to himself. Why he doesn't expand into that is beyond me. With a little bit of scouting as well, I mean, if we swap to see what he can actually currently see, he can see a lot of the land, but not a great deal. But with a bit more scouting, keeping up with a bit more with what Grumpy's doing, Big Pollet would realise that nobody is really going for the sea, not even myself, who's the naval nation. Took out Aelfrode's castle there. I've also sent a scouting detachment north. But if Big Pollet knew that nobody was really going naval, then he can build on Cornwall with no worries of getting cannon galleoned. And he might not even be thinking of cannon galleons. And so building on Cornwall is a very good idea. But I've discovered that Aelfrode is on France. I've taunted him sufficiently about being French, and I've asked him why he's still here and why he's not already run away with his tail between his legs, at which point he detested me calling him French and argued vehemently that he's reclaiming his rightful lands and he's got nothing to do with the French. But just again, witty joke. Grumpy Pirate gets his own castle up. I've modded what my Asian civ looks like, and I went for their alternative castle in the files because I think it looks cool. And I also like the smaller castles. As you can see, that's the one I use for Western cultures. That's the one I use for Asian cultures. I don't have an edited the Indian one, of course, but Grumpy Pirate gets his castle up on the edge there. And so he's now countering Icthelion, and Icthelion answers that by just trying to wall himself in even more. But what he really should have done is run his base away. He's getting a castle up there, but it's not that useful. If we see what Icthelion can see, I've gone to the Imperial Age, I believe, first, before any of the others. I'm not entirely certain. If we see what Icthelion can see, he should by now realise there's no one in Scotland. And so, but then this map actually, side note, this map becomes an awful lot easier if you genuinely do know your geography. Because if you know this map is England, so if you're reasonably in the centre, like Icthelion here, you'll realise you're on the island. You're on Great Britain. So this north of you is going to be Scotland. And what you've already discovered is kind of all of Scotland. So he should realise by now there's no one to his north. And he should be really, really using that. Go out and get as much wood as he can. Move your lumber camp closer to your forest. But if you swap over and see what I can see and what I'm doing, I've just been testing the borders, checking out what everyone's got. These ships have returned because I didn't want to have a naval warfare with Aelfrode. I wanted to overpower him. I'm about to get my third castle up there, defending this southern side. I've got 2 more towers there. Very cheeky looking little base. I am starting to build an archery range with the hope of shipping military to the mainland. But at the moment, I'm content to just sit and gather. But this is where Icthelion really then gets a hit, because I begin to raid his base. And with his gold stores so close to his base, and of course with no archers in his entire army, and his castle quite far away from the edge of the sea, then he struggles indeed. I don't want to go too near the town centre because that will drop my ships. but I can at least hit him and retreat to the sea when things go a bit awry. So I begin attacking Icthelion, but if we swap here, we see that Icthelion and Grumpy are in a bit of a trebuchet war at the moment. Grumpy just winning out. Icthelion marches his troops in, but it's just too little too late, and he's sending them up against now fully upgraded arbalists. And they're only long swordmen, not even two-handed swordmen. And with the Big Pullet's knights as well, Grumpy's knights, he takes out everything Icthelion has in one quick battle. Icthelion runs his Frankish throwing axemen away, but it just doesn't matter anymore. He sends his mangonels in, who are notoriously weak against castles unless there's a lot of them. And it seems like Grumpy has now really got him under the cosh. And with my whole fleet now attacking from the north as well, Icthelion is quite sandwiched. Seeing that Icthelion doesn't have too much going on, I've landed on the northern tips of Scotland, and I'm coming down from where I believe Aberdeen is on this, is up the coast here, on this side. I know that Glasgow is opposite Edinburgh. I think Glasgow's around here. But I think I'm coming from the Aberdeen side. And then up here you've got Inverness, if I remember correctly. Could be wrong. But I'm popping up a castle. From what I can see, Icthelion is reasonably done in. He's got nothing to counter my ships. And I obviously have no idea how close he is to my castle up here. But I'm not aware that him and Grumpy, he's getting attacked by Grumpy. And with his backup castle over here, it works against me a little bit. But Big Pullet seizes his chance and he moves out a scouting army, only a scouting army, to close in on that border there with Grumpy. Eofrode, my attack on Eofrode has caused him to be even more isolationist than normal. He puts up a second castle and just begins building longbowmen, but not very many of them at all, and he never bothers to build a fleet. Now, of course, his first contact with me was that I was up here on an island, so naturally I'm going to need a fleet. Secondly, I actually attack him with ships. All of this should be ringing warning bells that I'm going to have some sort of navy, and that in order to ever successfully beat me, I'm one of the players, I'm going to have to die for him to win. He's going to need a navy. But interestingly, he never bothers. He just goes with longbowmen, which seals his fate, because longbowmen, yes, have a very good range, but longbowmen are not infinite when you only have a finite space. So it's not looking too good for Eofrode if he doesn't shift focus. Now, Icthelion's siege workshop has gone down. The caravel's not very good against the building, but they're cracking on with it. I pop up a second castle. I've dropped in a load of villagers because I'm going to go for that gold. Because as you can see, I'm solidly out of the stuff. Pretty much having... Well, I've still got quite a few on here. And soon enough, I think I start putting more people into gold, realising I need to use what I've got first. But at the minute, we're just clearing out all the wood that we can. I'm getting a Feitoria up, a Feitoria. However, it is a bit of a gamble on a game like this, but I wanted to use it. I'd never used one, so... It costs 20 population, and according to the stats I've watched from Spirit of the Law's video, it's really not worth it. 20 population worth of villagers will get you far more wood, food, and gold than that will. I then tell everyone that rewriting history, the Portuguese, have landed in Scotland. That is, of course, a terrible Portuguese accent. I know quite a few Portuguese people, but I've never been able to do their accent. So difficult. Anywho, I've landed in Scotland. I drop a town centre thinking, basically, I've met no resistance. So there's no need to not drop a town centre. I've taken out his archery range now, taken down his gold. Grumpy is now fully attacking. I mean, Icthelion has run his paladins in to try and take out those trebs, but Grumpy has just too much. And now that the Grumpy's southern border is not being attacked, Big Pullet has completely given up attacking. Grumpy's very safe on that southern side. He switches focus to the north where Icthelion lies. That's when I get all these people trying to get that gold. Now the reason I go for the gold is because I think it's the most useful item that I can find. So it's better to try and get that first before we take the trees, because gold will run out quicker than wood. Of course, with Ireland's one of the... I've obviously know that there's nobody on Ireland, having scouted it out, but I'm one of the only people that actually has scouted Ireland out. Big Pullet can't see it. Icthelion can't see it. He's only got to Wales. Eofrode has been past it, but not enough to know if anybody's on it. And Grumpy Pirate, unfortunately because of where he is, hasn't been able to scout at all. Now, Grumpy's tactics here are to block himself off from Icthelion, who I wonder if he feels maybe Icthelion's stronger than he thinks. But he turns his attention back south. This annoys me because that means Ecthelion is then free to attack my little colony in northern Scotland, or in eastern Scotland. But I send in my fleet to really harass Ecthelion, to show him he should have moved away from the sea, and he finally puts the town centre out over there. Now Big Pollet really stagnated, really stale. He's gone up to castle. I don't know if he's imperial or not yet, but he's certainly up to the castle age. And again, he's just trying to wall himself in, but he knows that there's this gap here, so this wall is just delaying the inevitable. I'm not sure that he's actually fully blocked in as well, because he's not gone to the edge of the water there, so I think that's a gap. But he must have seen that Grumpy is on his way. And now, of course, he knows that Grumpy is indeed attacking his walls. But those attacks on his walls are the first thing he knows of it. He's just not scouted at all. He has no idea that the enemy is coming. I mean, that's where the outposts have a real usefulness, because they'll show you, a large chunk of what your enemy is doing, but they will also... the enemy will normally target them first. And if they don't target them, then they've got to walk through their line of sight. So it's a win-win. You will definitely know the enemy is coming. Even if you don't know what they're bringing, you'll know that they're coming, and that's vital. Now I get a couple of trebuchets up because I'm fairly certain I've just discovered that Ecthelion has a castle nearby. Yes, I have. And so I'm thinking, right, well, we're going to need to deal with that. That's going to need to fall. My fleet, for some reason, is going all the way around the other side. I'm not sure why. There's my beautiful base. Villagers doing nothing. Endemic, rather, or an sad indictment of these types of games, that there are villagers often doing nothing. Ecthelion's got fishing ships not even doing anything. He's got docks on this side though, and he's got units. He's still got some food sources he hasn't even used, like the sheep. Now he gets up some stables on this side and builds some knights to go and stop my cavalry doing what they're doing. My trebuchets. But Grumpy has begun his assault, and from the other side of what I assume to be the Thames, even though there's quite a big gap here where London would normally be. Although that's the combination of the Thames and the Severn River joining and splitting England completely in half, which of course in reality it doesn't do. Big Pollet does his last-ditch attempt, the Battle of the Gap, we shall call that. He throws everything he's got, but with some well-placed blocking from Grumpy by chucking halberdiers in the gap. His arbalists, mounted on the hill here, are able to drop almost all of Big Pollet's force with little effort and minimal retaliation. A sad day for Big Pollet. This would certainly seem to be his end. We'll pop it back to ×2, as there's not really too much going on. Trebuchet drops there. Aerofrode still not doing anything, and Big Pollet resigns. He doesn't even wait until he's defeated. He just knows he's defeated and he's gone. At 1 hour and 5-ish minutes, Big Pollet takes himself out the game. Is that 1 hour and 5 minutes? No, they're the seconds, aren't they? 1 hour and 1 minute, sorry. Now, this is where I get a bit cheeky, and I've requested if Ecthelion could build a dock on the other side of his base, on this side, because I'm hoping to use trade. But I'm sending my large fleet out to try and discover where everyone is. Take down some of the walls should I need to land there later in life. Now, Aerofrode is beginning his aggression. He's actually thinking of going aggressive. If we swap over to see what he can see. Again, he knows nothing other than that I'm up there and that Big Pollet's there, but he will know Big Pollet resigned. But he's dropped his forces in Big Pollet's base, and he starts taking down some buildings, even though it just doesn't matter at this stage. Big Pollet's already dead, so this is just a token defeat. Now, if we switch up to the north, you'll see that Ecthelion's knights did take out my trebuchets. I attempted to go with petards to drop his trebs, but they've taken down my castle. And now, with absolutely nothing to offer, I now just try and get my villagers off the island as fast as I can. I bring back the ships to try and defend them, because every villager is worth saving. All life is precious. Sometime soon, I drop down a transport ship, I believe, and I send it off to try and save those villagers. But Ecthelion doesn't press. He takes a long time before he actually finishes off his little attack. And then his trebuchets finally move up and start taking down the tower. But he yet doesn't even realise that I'm there getting all that gold. Now Aerofrode sweeps through Big Pollet's base, takes out everything he can, and is now finally searching. So he's not beginning an attack on me, he's just landing on England and going for what he can there. But he's just seen Grumpy's base, Now, he's got a huge advantage here because he's got longbowmen. And against halberdiers, longbowmen are like saints. The halberdiers have hardly any hope of bringing those down. And I expect Grumpy will realise that soon and he'll run them away because he knows he's got no hope against those longbows. So Grumpy's now in a bit of a problem, and he's bringing his army south to answer the call. He's dealt with Icthelion, and if he's used his scouting at all, if we have a look, if he's used any scouting at all, he'll realise, yeah, that I've taken down a lot of Icthelion's base. He's taken down the castle himself, but he can't see up here, so he doesn't know what's happening in the gloom. And of course, Grumpy has only seen that I've got a fleet, and it came from this side, so he may well be thinking that I'm currently in Ireland. Although I did attack his dock here from this side, so he may think also that I'm in France. But now having seen the Airfroads here, he might start to be thinking, right, so Heraloo is either in Ireland or the northern tip of Scotland. Because I don't think he thinks about Scandinavia in this map, if I remember the chat afterwards. Airfroad gets a bit cocky, and he presses deep into the heart of the enemy base, which is a risk. A big risk. He sends his halberdiers in to attack the town centre, which is suicide. You need many of them. He does start beating the arbalists, of course, though, because he's got elite longbows, fully upgraded with chemistry. So he's going to beat those arbalists, but it's at that moment that Grumpy uses his secondary wave, and he sends in halberdiers from the side. He traps Airfroad's entire force, and he just crushes it. Plain and simple. Airfroad was a bit too zealous. He should have landed, claimed Big Pollett's lands, popped up a castle so he had somewhere to run away to, and defended himself out from there, especially if you're Britons against the Japanese, because the Japanese do not really have a solid counter to your longbows. Being a very heavy infantry nation, obviously with their infantry attacking, is it 20% faster? Maybe 15? A Japanese player is not going to naturally go for skirmishers, although skirmishers almost everyone goes for, so arguably it wouldn't matter too much. Now I'm being a bit cheeky now, and I've started to trade with Grumpy Pirate, even though we're enemies. But of course he would only notice it if he comes and looks at his dock. He'll see that my cogs every now and then are just appearing and disappearing. But I get quite the trading line going. I start abusing him for gold. Now, I dropped my transport ship next to that, but knowing that Icthelion didn't press in, I thought, well, I'll try and get as much gold as I can. There's no need to sit here and not use it. But Icthelion does get quite a few troops, but his economy's been hit massively, and he doesn't think he can take Grumpy back. I'm building even more ships coming in from all docks now. My nice looking base. As always, I always use houses to wall in my farms. I think of it as a last line of defense should the enemy get to you. This time I went for 3 feitorias, which was a bit OTT, as we'll see a little later on. But at the minute, I've got the luxury of just going pure economy because I've got no threats. And no one else has a fleet. I've done my full scout of the Isles, and I know that nobody else has a fleet. Airfroad retreats to France, licking his war wounds, but he's not got many troops, so he's going to have to think up a different plan. But now there's a bit of a nothing for a short while. Grumpy just retreats his army back. I don't know if he's scouted out there, but he may well know that that Airfroad didn't build anything. So he's just going for a moment of gathering as many resources as he can. I have finally been kicked off of the north up here. And if I remember rightly, I believe... sorry, I'm a little late with it. No, I managed to get my villagers out. And they made it away. Nice and safe in the north there. And Icthelion retreats away. Now, Big Pollett does shift focus and he finally moves north. Airfroad, as I say, retreated and licking his war wounds. Grumpy realises I was trading with him and he destroys his dock and builds a castle to support it. So I send off my vast trading fleet and look for who else I can steal gold from. And I originally go for Airfroad, but it's a bit too risky. I should go for Big Pollett, really. But I've got my vast trading fleet, gathering what I can. I've also going to go and get some relics, chiefly in northern Scotland, which I know there's a relic there nobody's got. And it's always free gold, so send my navy in to try and stop Grumpy getting anything of a navy. Knowing how strong Grumpy goes in naval tactics, I figure it's best to not let him get anything near to what he can get. I just dropped in there and stole a relic. Now I'm running away. So I'm trying to hinder anything Grump can do to try and get a navy. And I'm taking supremacy on the water. Now, foolishly, I don't change my trade cogs up. And they take quite a few losses from the castles. The castles? The castles and the longbows. But clearly Aelfrode has not got ballistics, because his castles would solidly hit. But he gets a guard tower up, and I finally realise enough is enough. Our trade's not going to work there. We need somewhere else again. But we stop Grumpy getting anything on the water, and our fleet heads off to try and pester and annoy Aelfrode, who has gone very defensive. But if we now go back to normal speed, switch up to Aelfrode, he is coming on the northern side there, as you can see. He's got all his transport ships filled with pikemen, longbowmen, trebuchets. He's got enough to totally annihilate me, let's be honest. I've got nothing to counter that. Except, I've got a cannon tower, a bombard tower, and I've got my castles up. And of course, Aelfrode runs into my wall. His fleet's on the wrong side. His transport ships go down. My bombard tower benefits from ballistics. It is a bonus of the Portuguese faction, and he only manages to drop some pikemen and some longbowmen. His transport ships destroyed, and they are now stuck on Norway, and my gathered defences easily take them down. I was too prepared for what Aelfrode was sending, and sadly it falls. It does virtually no damage in the time before it does fall. But then I do worry that he might do this again, and I begin building archers to put in these towers, which is a bit of a waste, but there we are. I have now built cannon galleons, and I'm now taking down what I can from Aelfrode from the sea. Doing very well, those cannon galleons. Caravels come in just to ensure nobody gets the cannons. And my trade has now moved north to Ecthelian's base, but Grumpy has begun his attack. Meeting virtually no resistance, he's able to sweep through, take out the town centre. Interestingly, Ecthelian calls the town bell, but then his villagers are all right out on the front line. So it's very wise to. I have shipped off to Ireland to try and get wood, because I am, of course, out of wood on Norway now. Only gold and farms remain up here in the feitorias. But, so I've shipped off villagers to Ireland, which I know nobody has. If you swap and see what I can see, you see that I can see the thin gap between Ecthelian, and I know where he is. I have no idea on the size of Grumpy's base. I know he's got 2 town centres there that I can see, and a castle on the edge and a castle on that edge, which I don't even know. But my main army is taking Aelfrode solidly out of the game. And Ecthelian tells everyone that Grumpy has come for him. So speed it back up as Grumpy just shreds through Ecthelian's base. Short and sweet and over very quickly. He takes out that town centre and stops all of my trades, and my trade ships will return to their docks. Gather in our central and most secure haven. My fleet returns home for some unknown reason, and my bombard... No, I returned my fleet home because I know that there's nothing threatening these bombard ships, the cannon galleons. So they're free to do what they like, and I take out some of the economy that Aelfrode's got. Grumpy has got a great deal of town centres, something even now I still don't do. I mean, he's got, what, 5 town centres? 6 town centres? I normally only build 2, 3 at a tops. He takes out Ecthelian's castle, and he just slowly works his way north, really. Ecthelian, realising he's pretty much done for, runs villagers in to try and stop those trebs, but with that army, it's never going to happen, is it? Grumpy moves in. Ecthelian even sends sheep at him to try and hold his advance, but of course it's just not going to work. And his town centre swiftly falls. And Ecthelian is also out of the game. He's not yet resigned, but obviously he's out of the game. Aelfrode tells me to leave him alone as I kill everything I can. Start getting an army of organ guns on my mainland, which I'm going to send down in a moment. I've deleted those archers in order to actually train the organs because I built too many of these. I'm shipping more things down to this island. All the villagers I've got that are spare are going to Ireland to try and whore it of all its resources. Sadly indicative of what the English actually did. But we'll just gloss over that bit in our history, shall we? We're all friends now. My cannon galleon's taking down the village that Aelfrode now has. No castles, barely any. He's only got 2 barracks left. He begins asking my better side, if it were, to... you pesky French are always moaning. He's trying to get me to back away, but there's no point. He's out, he's defeated. He's not yet actually defeated, but he is gone. Ecthelion is actually now gone, although obviously he's asking a few things. And then I tell Ecthelion, yes, if you resign, it will keep you. You'll be able to see everything. Grumpy now knows that there's just me and Eärfrode left alive. Now, all he knows about Eärfrode is that he attacked in the south. So he's going to head his army off that way. That's his best and closest lead. He doesn't know anything about the sea other than I am in the sea, but he's defending his docks. He's only got watchtowers, interestingly. He's not even bothered to upgrade his towers to guard towers. It must be a useless upgrade in the minds of those better than me. I, of course, have got mine all the way up to keeps. And I've even got bombard towers, but it doesn't really help me. I'm trading again, stealing some trade from Big Pollet now, knowing to shift over there. And my fleet recognises that we're under attack, so we move in on Grumpy's base. And this is where, as I say, the fact that I've got the Caravel helps out. But as you can see, a lot of Caravels die. They take a lot of damage from the galleons. And the Caravel's only real strength is that its bullets, or its arrows, its missiles, are going through the enemy. But I don't do very good on the micro front, and I leave some of them standing idle. And Grumpy takes the day. His fleet being this close to his production centre, I get defeated. My fleet is destroyed, and I only have the cannon galleons left, who are currently just making sure that Eärfrode doesn't come near the water again. But Eärfrode does have quite the army on his base. That's about all he's got left. He's got a ton of idle villagers though. He can't get anywhere near the edge now because the cannons are stopping. But Grumpy defeats my fleet. It's time for desperate measures. My lovely little base, my little seaside town here. And then the farming centre in the top there. I've destroyed a Feiteria, realising that that's going to need to be... We're going to need more people. I've taken a lot of the forest out on island already. I've got some people going for gold. Don't bother with the stone, although I should, because then I could trade it. Grumpy now cuts out my trade, knowing that that's a gold lifeline. But my organ guns have landed on France, and in they go. An army of organ guns. I think there might be 50 of them, maybe 60. Ah, no, there's about 40 odd. We move in to support the cannon galleons, the organs with our cannon galleons. Now, knowing that cannon galleons are good against massed units, I try and get them as close as possible so that we can get the hits over the whole of that army. And whilst we do take quite a few losses from his longbowmen, the sheer number of organ guns, their strength against massed units, and the fact that we're supported with the cannons, who are aided by ballistics, the Portuguese special ability, we defeat his military and we can start taking down his buildings. Meanwhile, Grumpy is doing what he does best and changing up and focusing on his fleet. His actual military force is currently safely in his southern side of his island. But he's changing up now and he's going for the navy. And I am using this opportunity to build as many caravels as I can. They're now elite. I've got all the upgrades that I can get. Eärfrode sends in the villagers. He's now got so little left. And they're taken down by the organ guns with ease. He sends in the last few troops he's got. This makes me think that maybe he's got a castle over here, but it's just a few troops he kept back. I move in and take those down, and these ones support by taking out these villagers. He does start building halberdiers, but it's only going to be a matter of time before he runs out. And the organs press on. I abandon any other... There's no point sending support over to him now. So I drop my cannon galleons home, they're not needed, and I've got my caravels moving in. The great battle of the North Sea is about to take place. Eärfrode well and truly defeated, and he finally resigns. But we know we've got to meet Grumpy, and we've got to surpass him on the water. And now is our chance. Our fleet moves in. Caravels! Sorry, it's swapped at a bad moment. Caravels try and move in and get as close as we can. If we swap to Grumpy and come back over here, we see our caravels doing damage to all of them in the back there. And our cannon galleons, of course, supported by ballistics, they're helping as well. And in sizes of this kind of quantity, the caravel is unmatched. So many bullets hitting through so many ships at once. Grumpy just cannot hold us back. And the cannon galleons, of course, doing their part. They fire an awful lot slower than Spanish galleons, and it does hinder them a lot. But when in big battles like this, where you leave the enemies to it, the cannon galleons often do very, very well. And I'm able to completely drop Grumpy's fleet, and I move my cannons off to hit his dock complex. He starts training as many ships as he can to try and counter me, but it's at this point I've got the cannons going now. His dock's falling very rapidly. Grumpy doesn't have a secondary, but he's planning it already. He's already moved off to build a second dock area as I rip my way through his first one. With Airfrode and Big Pollet now gone, it's just me and Grumpy left. And Grumpy doesn't yet know. I mean, he's seen my island, my secondary economic base on island, but he's not done anything about it yet. But he's going as dock heavy as he can. And I do not yet know that he's actually changed up and he's building these docks. So, a bit of an issue for myself. We move the cannon galleons in as close as we can. Start taking down buildings just on the edge. And we notice then his docks over here. And our caravels go for what we can do. But the sheer number of docks wins out. And his insane store of resources just means I can't counter them. I foolishly send the cannons in way too late. Start taking out the docks just as I realise what's happening. But it's too late, and my caravels, whilst taking down a lot of the enemy, we're not quick enough on the docks, and Grumpy gets a solid advantage. If we swap over to what Grumpy's actually got though, he's very, very low on wood, whereas my exploits on island mean that I've got a vast supply of wood. I'm trying to avoid attacking the ships because I can't do anything about them, but I can drop his docks, so I do try and move in on those. Though again, poor decision making on my part means that I leave a single dock standing. My force on airfields just takes out everything that it can, whilst the army of villagers on island just continues to get all the resources we can get. I've now begun my plans for actual domination. The Portuguese's next best unit, the hand cannoneer. Their hand cannoneers, of course, are blessed with the ballistics upgrade, and it makes them a formidable unit. I dropped them on the northern tip where I knew Ecthelion used to reside, thinking this place would be safe, and my hand cannoneers move in to attack Grumpy's northern side. But it's all very, very close now. Grumpy's got a solid land force, he's now got water dominance, and he sends in his lone galleon there to take out my dock. So he's finally got sight range of where I am. I move a little bit too close to the edge, so I have to pull back, and I realise that there's this great wall, and but the hand cannoneers make short work of that gate, and we are through. He's also trying to stop my economy, but it's a bit too late. I've taken all most of the resources of Ireland, and it's not going to do too much. But here he comes with his galleon force. My caravels now, it's just too little too late. He's got galleons on the way, and he's got cannon galleons training soon enough. So his fleet is just poised out of my sight range there, just on the edge. And they shred the caravels. As I say, the caravel is only useful when there's large numbers of them. Oh, 2 cannon cannons I abandoned. I forgot about. I've retreated beyond that wall just for my own safety to ensure that nothing's going to go too wrong. Not going to lose a wealth of resources I put in those hand cannoneers. But I've also sailed villagers off. I use the hand cannoneers to defend myself and the villagers' land to start setting up anything that can help us. Of course, our vast supply of hand cannoneers with the ballistics upgrade mean that they just do so well. If we switch that to Grumpy Pirate, we'll see that his army is just annihilated by the hand cannoneers, and then the castle goes up at just the wrong moment. And I completely wipe his force out. His whole army is killed at the Battle of Edinburgh, which we'll call that. 3 castles I put up with my massive supply of the resources, something I've got that Grumpy's not. Grumpy retaliates in kind by trying to take out my base, and in this he succeeds. This is where it now gets so close to the line. My base is now being completely destroyed, but Grumpy doesn't have any land forces. He can only kill what he can kill from the sea. The security of my island home now turns into a prison, and I am trapped. I try and build what I can of caravels, but it's a little too late. I get a vast supply of trebuchets out, supported with hand cannoneers, and we come in from the north. I send the caravels in to try and stop those cannon galleons. They're my main concern, but his normal galleons are just so many. And I managed to save myself a little bit longer. I then build a lot of archery ranges and start then also getting wood from Scotland. And in we go. If we swap to see what we can actually see, Get some organ guns to support there as well. I start using my trebuchets just to drop everything that they can in range. Grumpy sends his Japanese trebuchets in, which are very, very, very quick to unpack and pack, but I don't think he's researched that, because they repack really slowly then. They unpack very slowly. But my sheer number of trebuchets out beats his, and we can then drop everything. My hand cannoneers are just too strong, and we start building as many organ guns as we can get our hands on. But Grumpy begins working his way around my island, just dropping all the military buildings. I change to galleons, realizing that my caravels are not doing anything. And whilst I do make a reasonable dent into his force, it's nothing compared to what he's got lying in wait. But again, he comes back with more cannon galleons. All of my docks are now down. But at the same time, my army's ripping through his base. So it's a race against the clock. Is he going to drop me, or am I going to drop him? Place your bets. Cannon galleons dropping the last few of my ships there. He starts taking down my archery ranges. Organ guns and whatnot hitting the skirmishers, hitting the trebuchets. My trebuchets have been defeated through mismanagement on my part. My hand cannoneers are now dead, but I've got a vast supply of organ guns. And organ guns do incredibly well against massed units. They don't do amazingly well, but they do well enough. But I've now got to fight off this. Grumpy Pirate's got a good economy and a lot of training buildings. A lot of buildings that can train units. I, of course, am coming from Scotland, so it's quite far away. And it just becomes now a game of attrition. But if we switch back to his fleet, we'll see that it's taken out everything on that beachhead. He's clearing the way should he want to land there. It's easier to destroy houses than it is to destroy a wall. He moves in on the castle, and I desperately try and take him down with some... We've got 15 demolition ships queued just to go in and do damage. And we managed to take out a few, but it's just too much, too late. But now my army's really kicking up a gear, and our waypoints are now just all set in his base. And off we go. We are beating him economically. As you see, we got 13,000, 41,000, no gold. He's got 899 wood. He's really, really running out of resources. It's looking incredibly in my favour here, but he's taking out my entire base. Everything I've got on island is reduced now to about 6 villagers, but we've used everything. We've already taken those resources, meaning he can't use them. But he's got all of England if he wants wood, and he's turning everything he can, but my forces are right on his doorstep. We're attacking on the western side in the Lake District. We're attacking on the eastern side in County Durham. Meanwhile, he has now completely taken out my naval presence and anything he can get on the shore. He loses a few ships through carelessness though, but he can now move in on the town centre with safety, with impunity. But as I say, my waypoints, as you can see, the X just there, are now firmly set in his base. So units are just training and being sent straight in. No two ways about it. We're dropping everything that we can, but we now need to deal with his castle on this northern side. Our army on this side, though, is pushed right up to the town centre. We're now in Wales itself, taking down his archery range there. That's quite apt, given that the Welsh gave us the longbow. But he's not given up. He's just retreating south and south and south. He's got a lot of docks again, but now, of course, they're no use. His vast fleet takes out a large chunk of my base, but they'll never reach the back where my key production is. And, of course, my vast supply of wood is that I've already got banked. I'm using the resources I've already got. He's using resources he's having to get as we go. But he presses on. He comes in with now just a horde of light cavalry. It's the best he's got. He's got no wood, so he's just got to go light cavalry now. The Japanese not renowned for their light cavalry. He starts putting up houses, but his base is destroyed. And I will end it there because I don't want it to end, but Grumpy resigns shortly after this. I end the game with 17,000, 45,503 grand on the stone at the end. Grumpy takes out everything he can in range, and I think he resigns just after he takes down that town centre, but it's just too late. My resources are already too strong. He sends in as many light cavalry as he can, and he does retreat to here, but he never crosses the Thames, and he never makes it into southern England. But he does go on for a lot longer than you'd think, given that essentially he is out. His economy has been hit, he's not got the villagers to counter me, and that ends the game. And I win! Solid victory on my part. That's 3 of these that I've won, so I should probably show you one where I lose next time, shouldn't I? But I thought that was an incredibly fun game. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I was in the best position, but Grumpy probably had a good fun as well, taking down Pollet, taking down Ecthelion, and then getting the victory on the sea. Grumpy, arguably the much better player. I just had more resources and the luxury of safety for a good hour and 40 minutes. So Grumpy and the battle for England at the end there, I come at it with far more resources, and in the end it sways the balance in my favour. So that concludes this third one. I do hope you've enjoyed this one as much as the others. Do leave me any feedback that you will, any comments you've got. Also, if you are interested in playing in the Steam group, come and join it. I will be online this very evening. It's Saturday. If there are too many, bear in mind we can only do 8 in a game. If there are too many people, we do just do multiple games. Knight of the North normally starts up a game, so get used to speaking with him. And also AF Road is also very good at starting up a game, so those two currently will happily start up other games, so we can have as many going as we want. But if you want to come and join, you want to come and play, we'll definitely be playing some Age of Empires today. If not through the day, then definitely in the evening. So come along and join in. But leave me any feedback that you will. But until next time, dear friends, Navar and den Perimad Melunin, and farewell.